The maid who took over the house. In the quiet suburbs of London stood a magnificent two-story mansion. Inside lived Richard and Eleanor Collins, a couple in their early 40s. Eleanor was exhausted, constantly balancing social obligations, charity work, and the endless upkeep of the house. When her best friend suggested hiring a maid, Eleanor agreed. That afternoon, a cab stopped outside their gates. Out stepped Maya, a woman in her late 20s. She wore a modest black dress and carried only a small suitcase. Her eyes were sharp, scanning every detail of the house, as though memorizing it. When Eleanor greeted her warmly, Maya lowered her gaze with practiced humility, speaking in a soft voice. "I'll do my best, madam. Thank you for trusting me," she said, her tone dripping with deference. At dinner that night, Sophie and Daniel whispered to each other, already amused by Maya's quiet demeanor. Richard, however, barely noticed her. Eleanor felt relieved. She believed this maid would finally give her peace. At first, Maya was flawless. She prepared breakfast before dawn, ironed Richard's shirts, and even braided Sophie's hair with patience Eleanor lacked. Daniel adored her bedtime stories, told in a voice that made him laugh and shiver at the same time. Neighbors commented, "You're lucky, Eleanor. She's not just a maid, she's like family." Eleanor beamed with pride at her choice, but Maya wasn't just helping. She was studying. She observed Eleanor's routines, her favorite wine, the pills she took for her migraines, the way she argued with Richard when he came home late. She noticed Richard's weakness for compliments and the children's hunger for attention. Late at night, Maya stood by her window, writing in a small notebook. Eleanor trusts too easily. Richard avoids conflict. The children crave affection. Each word was a step in her plan. It began innocently. Maya baked cookies for the children and whispered, "Don't tell your mother. It's our secret." They giggled, feeling special. When Eleanor forgot Sophie's art competition, Maya was there, cheering from the back row. When Daniel had nightmares, Maya sat with him until he slept. Slowly, she became their safe place. Eleanor, meanwhile, thanked her endlessly. "You're a blessing, Maya." One evening, while pouring Richard's drink, Maya said softly, "Your tie suits you, sir." Eleanor has good taste. Richard barely noticed the compliment, but something in her voice lingered. That was how she worked. Subtle, never obvious, just enough to plant seeds. Weeks turned to months. Eleanor noticed Richard growing distant. He spent more evenings in his study, sometimes laughing softly at Maya's jokes when she delivered his tea. Maya's whispers sharpened. "Sir, Eleanor must be tired. She hardly notices how hard you work." And to Eleanor, she'd sigh, "Madam, Richard looked so exhausted last night. I worry about him." The seeds of doubt blossomed into tension. Eleanor complained, "You don't talk to me anymore." Richard snapped back, "All you do is nag." Maya listened from the hallway, her face calm, almost pleased. Richard was lonely, vulnerable, and blind to Maya's true nature. One stormy night, she brought him dinner. A candle flickered. Her shadow danced across the wall. "You deserve someone who understands you," she whispered, brushing his hand. He didn't pull away. By the time the thunder outside roared, the invisible line between master and maid had blurred. Eleanor sensed something. Friends whispered, "She's too close to your husband." Eleanor laughed it off, unwilling to suspect betrayal in her own home. But the children betrayed her unknowingly. They adored Maya. Sophie confided, "Sometimes I wish Maya was my mom. She listens better." The words pierced Eleanor's heart. One evening, Eleanor walked into the living room to find her husband and Maya sharing quiet laughter. She froze. Richard looked guilty. Maya, however, held his gaze, calm, confident, victorious. Maya now ran the household. She decided meals, schedules, even how the children dressed. Eleanor felt like a guest in her own home. When she tried to fire Maya, Richard snapped, "Don't be ridiculous. She's holding this family together." That night, Eleanor wept alone in her room, the laughter of Richard and Maya echoing downstairs. The truth arrived brutally. One morning, Eleanor woke to Richard's suitcase by the door. His voice was cold. "I can't do this anymore. Maya and we're together." The children clung to Maya, not their mother. Eleanor's world collapsed. Her husband, her family, her identity, all stolen by the woman she trusted. Eleanor left the mansion that once held her dreams. She watched through tear-blurred eyes as Maya waved from the balcony, wearing Eleanor's necklace, standing where Eleanor once stood. The betrayal was complete. Months later, Eleanor rebuilt her life quietly, away from the city. Meanwhile, whispers spread. Richard's wealth dwindled. Maya's charm curdled into cruelty, and the perfect home turned into a prison. The moral was clear. Betrayal may win battles, but it never wins peace. Eleanor, though scarred, walked forward wiser. Maya, though victorious, lived forever trapped in fear. Knowing what is stolen never truly belongs. This chapter closes, but many more await. Join us at one last page. Subscribe now and never miss a story worth remembering.